I think it's important to understand what a spiritual inventory is not. Spiritual inventory is not a list of your failures. It is not a reason to criticize yourself. It is not about carrying guilt around for things you cannot change. It is not about proving that you are a bad person. And it is certainly not about perfectionism. If you finish a spiritual inventory feeling ashamed of yourself, you have missed the point. A healthy spiritual inventory should leave you feeling more aware, more compassionate, and more hopeful. Its purpose is honesty. As you practice it, you will begin to recognize the patterns that shaped your life, understand yourself better with greater kindness, and gain clarity about who you are, what matters most to you, and the life God created you to live. It's basically about growth, not punishment. One of the reasons this practice is so powerful is because of the way our brain works. Our brains love familiar patterns. If a certain behavior helped us survive during childhood, we often continue using that same strategy as adults, even when it no longer serves us, because you avoid conflicts, because it once kept you safe. Hi there, welcome to Baggage Begun, Healing Hearts and Minds. I'm Tami Mahmali and I'm so grateful that you're here. And I want to ask you a question. What if 10 minutes a day could change the direction of your life? Not 10 minutes spent scrolling through your phone or watching TV. Not 10 minutes worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow. Not 10 minutes replying in your head a conversation that already happened. Just 10 quiet minutes with yourself. I know that sounds simple, but I have learned that some of the most powerful changes in life come from the simplest practices. We often think healing requires a dramatic breakthrough, a perfect therapist, the right book, or a life-changing event. Sometimes those things help, but often real transformation happens because we become willing to pause and pay attention to our inner world. Today I want to talk about a practice that has been around for thousands of years. It is simple, practical, and available to every one of us, regardless our background or beliefs. It can help us understand ourselves better, improve our relationships, reduce stress, make better decisions, and reconnect with the person we were created to be. It's called a spiritual inventory. In Jewish tradition, there is a practice called Xeshbon HaNefesh, which means an accounting of the soul. The Torah encourages us to reflect on our actions and take responsibility for the way we live our lives. Over time, Jewish sages expanded this idea into a daily practice of self-examination, not to create guilt or fear, but to encourage growth and wisdom. And the idea is beautifully simple. At the end of the day, we pause, look at our life honestly, notice what went well, what worked, notice what didn't work, and learn from those experiences. Basically, to grow from learning from our mistakes. And then wake up tomorrow and try again. The key here is to stay consistent. I love this idea because it reminds us that growth is a process. We are not expected to have all the answers. We are not expected to be perfect. We are simply asked to pay attention and to keep moving forward, being consistent, doing it again and again and again. The truth is that every spiritual tradition has some vision of this practice because human nature has not changed very much over the years. We all make mistakes. We all disappoint ourselves. We all get hurt. We all hurt other people, whether intentionally or unintentionally. We all carry fears, pain, hurt, regrets, and disappointments. Basically baggage, and every one of us has the opportunity to learn, heal, and become a little wiser each day. I think it's important to understand what a spiritual inventory is not. Spiritual inventory is not a list of your failures. It is not a reason to criticize yourself. It is not about carrying guilt around for things you cannot change. It is not about proving that you are a bad person. And it is certainly not about perfectionism. If you finish a spiritual inventory feeling ashamed of yourself, you have missed the point. A healthy spiritual inventory should leave you feeling more aware, more compassionate, and more hopeful. Its purpose is honesty. As you practice it, you will begin to recognize the patterns that shaped your life, understand yourself better with greater kindness, and gain clarity about who you are, what matters most to you, and the life God created you to live. It's basically about growth, not punishment. One of the reasons this practice is so powerful is because of the way our brain works. Our brains love familiar patterns. If a certain behavior helped us survive during childhood, we often continue using that same strategy as adults, even when it no longer serves us, because you avoid conflicts, because it once kept you safe. Maybe you learn to please others because you wanted to be accepted and loved. Maybe you stay busy because being still feels uncomfortable for you. Maybe you shut down because expressing emotions didn't feel safe in your childhood. Maybe you overwork, overeat, overspend, or overthink because those habits became ways of coping with difficult emotions today. None of this means there is something wrong with you. It means you are simply human. The problem is that without awareness, we continue repeating, recycling the same stories baggage. We have the same arguments, we make the same choices, we attract similar relationships, we carry the same resentments, anger. Awareness gives us the opportunity to choose differently. After all, we cannot change what we refuse to see, right? I want to share 5 simple questions that you can ask during your inventory every day. You don't need a journal and you don't need an hour of quiet meditation. You simply need a few honest moments with yourself before you go to sleep. The first question is, what did I do well today? I think this question is important because most of us are experts at remembering our mistakes while forgetting our wins, our victories. So celebrate your progress each day. Acknowledge your efforts. Notice the moments when you were patient, loving, courageous, in service, generous, or kind. The second question is, where did I act from fear instead of love? Fear can show up in many forms. It can look like anger, jealousy, control, perfectionism, people-pleasing, or avoidance. Simply noticing where fear was leading your decisions can guide you to make different, better choices tomorrow. The third question is, did I hurt myself for someone else's today? And if I did, what can I do to make it right? This question is not about blame, it is about taking responsibility. Sometimes the answer may be an apology. Sometimes it may be setting a healthier boundary. Sometimes it may simply be offering yourself more compassion and love. The fourth question is, what am I carrying that I no longer need? Maybe you're carrying resentment, disappointment. Maybe it's guilt. Maybe it's a fear about the future. Maybe it's expectation that someone else should behave a certain way, differently. Sometimes the heaviest baggage we carry is not what happened to us. It's the stories we have continued telling ourselves about what happened in the past. The fifth question is, what is one small thing I can do better tomorrow? Not 10 things, one thing. Maybe it's one conversation, one act of kindness, making healthier choices, one apology, maybe a prayer, maybe one moment of courage. Small steps practiced consistently lead to lasting change. I also believe that forgiveness belongs at the heart of a spiritual inventory. Without forgiveness, awareness can become really heavy. So with forgiveness, awareness becomes healing. Forgiveness does not mean saying that what happened to you was okay. It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean allowing unhealthy behavior to continue. It means letting go of the emotional baggage that keep us connected to this pain long after the event has passed, it was over. It means creating room for inner peace. I think one of the greatest gifts we give ourselves is the understanding that we are allowed to choose differently and to grow any given moment. We are allowed to make mistakes, we are allowed to learn, we are allowed to change our minds, we are allowed to become wiser than we were yesterday. The question is not whether we have baggage, right? The question is whether we are willing to unpack our baggage and reframe the story so we can live better. I want to leave you with a simple challenge. Tonight, before you go to sleep, turn off the TV. Put down your phone, sit quietly with yourself for 10 minutes. Take a deep breath and ask yourself a few honest questions. Did I live today as the person I want to become? Did I share the gifts that God created me to share with the world to make it a better place for everyone? Did I make the world a little kinder because I was here sharing my gifts and my contributions? Did I love? Did I forgive? Did I grow? If the answer is yes, be grateful. And if the answer is no, be grateful too. Be gentle with yourself because tomorrow is another opportunity to choose again. And healing is not about becoming someone else. It is about having clarity about who you really are beneath the baggage, beneath the fear, the pain, the hurt, the disappointments, and the stories you have carried for too long. And maybe that's the real purpose of a spiritual inventory. Not to find everything that's wrong with us, but to guide us to discover everything that is still good, still whole, and still capable of growing. I want to thank you for spending this time with me and stay until the end. If this episode touched your heart, please share it with someone who might need to hear these words today. And remember, you don't have to carry yesterday's baggage into tomorrow. One small step, one honest conversation with yourself, one day at a time. It's good. It's enough. I'm Tami Mahmali, and you have been listening to Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds. Until next time, be kind to yourself, trust the journey, share the gifts that only you can bring into the world, and never forget that healing is possible.
If you're curious and want to dive deeper, you are in the right space. I ask you to look within for all the things that you want to do, be, and have. Join me at the Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds podcast with new episodes every Wednesday as we discover the path towards healing and transformation.